What's going on, guys? If you are trying to color grade your videos like a pro and you want it to be looking from this really flat image to this, well then you're in the right place. But before we start, let's take off this beanie. Don't you just hate it? Like, some people can just rock beanies and I'm just not one of them. They just never look good on me. Let's drink water and not coffee because we're not filmmakers like everybody else. Recently, for some odd reason, algorithm kind of liked me and boosted one of my videos. It's not that big of a deal, but for me it is. It's close to 2,000 views now. This is the Pretty Little Thing spec ad that I did a while back with my friend Israel. If you want to check out his channel, he's a sick one too. But a lot of you guys have been asking me how I do my color grading, and you guys seem to like it, and so I decided why not make a tutorial on it. Alright, so today we're gonna be color grading on DaVinci Resolve 17 because we're pros like that. Not really. But this is I think is the most efficient way to color grade your films. We're using the 17, but you can still use the 16 version. But some of these can still apply on Premiere and Final Cut Pro. DaVinci Resolve is what we're using now because I really like their node-based system. Do not be intimidated, trust me. It's not that big a deal. Oh, by the way, if you want to check out that spec ad that I'm talking about, I'm gonna link it down below, and some link. I still haven't figured out like which side do I point, but on either side of those, it's gonna be linked up there. Yeah, so this is one of the clips on that film. Actually, this is one of the unused clips on that film, but let's watch it together. Just see how it is. See. It's a great shot. It's a bit shaky, but it's pretty good. I stayed in focus the whole time. By the way, this is shot with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K in B-RAW, but 12:1, which I think is plenty enough for what I'm doing. Here it is. All right, so first off, let's find the hero shot, which I think. Let's grab through right here. This is the sharpest image, or sharpest frame. Actually, that. All right. Before we start, one of the most important things in color grading is actually having a monitor that is calibrated, or at least close enough to being calibrated. Mine is not, but I ordered the calibrator. It's gonna come soon, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close to what I get when I look at my videos on my phone. We have that hero frame, and I shot this in film, which is Blackmagic's log. They call it the film. I don't know why, but just to be sick. First off, we're gonna use a LUT, but we're not gonna use a creative LUT that you buy from Peter McKinnon or Potato Jet or whoever it is. We're gonna use the stock LUTs here on DaVinci Resolve, or you can probably download this off of their website. Here are conversion LUTs. So technically you're making a log image into Rec 709, which is what you're seeing on your mobile phone or like on the web. Actually, I'm picking based off of what I think looks the closest to what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get that summer, spring actually look vibe, that warm feeling, and so I like this a lot. So yeah, so we're using the Blackmagic Pocket 4K film to extended video version 4. It retains that desaturated look. I'm trying to make it look filmic per se. I don't know. So with the DaVinci, if you're trying to make a new node, you press Alt S to make a new node. And then this new node, I'm gonna label it just cause, but you don't have to, but it's really helpful when you go back to it. So I'm just gonna put contrast, because this is where I'm gonna mess around with my contrast, right? I'm gonna go past what I like and then bring it back down. I don't really like that much contrast in my image, and plus there's a reason why I'm keeping the contrast low, which you're gonna find out in just a little bit later in the tutorial why I'm doing that. And I kind of like that actually, but I'm gonna play around with the pivot This is basically telling which side of the spectrum, the bright or the darks, you want to put that contrast on. Just want to bring that down a little bit. I like that. It's not much, but it brings up the colors. Speaking of colors, we're gonna make another node, which this one I'm gonna call sat for saturation. What I'm gonna do is probably bring up the saturation. Actually, I don't really, I actually like it, but the temperature I feel like is a little too warm for my liking. Again, I'm gonna go past what I like, I think looks good, and then I'm gonna go back. Still a little too cold. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Like that, just the temperature, the white balance. Then I'm gonna make another node. The reason why I'm doing multiple nodes is because it's gonna be easier for me to go back to the other nodes and make adjustments. So in this node, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna label it skin. Instead of messing around with my tint like that to get the right hue for my skin, what I'm gonna do is actually key it. The reason why I'm doing this is because if you're applying this look onto multiple clips, it's gonna be hard to do it shot by shot and correct that white balance for the skin. But by doing this, you are essentially separating the skin tones and correcting it on its own. Hit the qualifier. What you want to do is hit Shift H, and that'll highlight that. It'll show you what you're selecting. So I'm just gonna select, browse through most of her skin. There, I like that. Wait, so it's just a trial and error. Just keep doing it, and you'll land at a good spot, I'm sure. There we go. I like that. And then you see how it's pretty noisy, how those are pretty sharp and pretty blotchy. That's not gonna look good if you keep it that way. So what you want to do is denoise right here, add it, give it a good amount, maybe like 15 looks pretty good to me. And then blur radius, just to give it that gradient look. That's good. And then now, so on default, it's probably going to be on parade. Your graph at the bottom right of the screen is probably going to be on parade, but we want to monitor her skin tone. So what we want to do is go on to vector graph, and then this line is probably not going to be on default. What you want to do is hit this, check, show skin tone indicator. See right there, the average skin tone of a human being. If you have a blood, well, your skin tone is probably gonna land over here if you get the white balance correct. We're pretty okay, we're pretty good on the white balance, but I'm just gonna give it a little bit of nudge. I want it to be a bit purpley, just a little bit, and a bit warmer than the rest of the image. Just 10 is good. I'm looking at the graph, not the image, because like what I said, if the monitor isn't color calibrated, which mine isn't, it's just close to being calibrated, you want to trust the graph, because that's not gonna lie. So we have that skin right there. One more thing that I want to do is go on to the curves adjustment, and then click on this options, and then turn on editable splines. What it'll do is it'll create that curve for you, right? What I want to do is bump up her skin tone to separate her from the background. You don't want to overdo this. It's so easy to overdo it. I feel like right here is pretty good. Actually, that's a bit much. There we go. All right, and so on to the next node. On this node, we're gonna create the look. This is what everybody wants, right? My goal is to get that separation from the highlights and the shadows. And so the basic look that I always go for, you can never go wrong with this, is I want to get that yellow look from the highlights, because I feel like here and over here, the highlights are a bit too cold and it doesn't look spring or summery to me. So what I want to do is just nudge it just a little bit until it looks pretty good to me. Just a little bit. There we go. That looks good already. But the image looks flat. Everything looks orange, right? So what we want to do is hit those shadows right here on her hair, the jeans, the lines on here on the grass, and like here behind the darker sides of the tree and the leaves. We can make that a little bit blue, but not too much. I'm pulling towards the bottom right of the wheel right here on the lift. How does that look? That kind of evens it out. This looks a bit greenish, and actually I feel like I need more warmth. There we go. I like that. And then in shadows, a little more teal, blue. I like to use green a little bit. Actually, no, blue. Right there. Oh, yeah, I like that. And everything are these. Actually, go back a little bit. There we go. Kind of like that. It brings back that blue, that blackness on her hair, right? But it's still a little bit warm, but that's what we want. But you're probably thinking, we spent all that time correcting her skin only to mess it up on the look, right? But this is what we're gonna do. Another reason why, advantage of qualifying the skin, separating it from the whole image, is you can do this. Click on the look node. You can hit Alt L. Boom. You just created another node. So it's called the layer node. It's basically an adjustment layer on top of the look, on top of the node that I just created the look on. So here, and then you see this little blue box on our skin node. What we can do is that alpha channel, we can connect that to the new node at the bottom, and then just like that, we separated the skin, and now we're retaining the skin. And just like that, we did that. But what I want to do is just to blend it in a little bit nicer. I want to go on to keying and put that gain down. This is basically opacity of the effect of the skin, that skin correction that we did. I want to put it at about 0.9, which is 90%. Just so you kind of get that look that we created a little bit on the skin blending. Just like that. And also what I want to do is, I kind of don't like how sharp the image is. So what I want to do is go back to my skin, and this is the sauce. You'll be surprised. So the mid-tone detail is right here by the color wheel. I'm just gonna pull it down a little bit, maybe like 15. 15 is always a good spot. See? And to be honest, I want a little bit more warmth on the skin. Maybe 40. See, this is the power of DaVinci Resolve, because you have nodes, so you can always go back to what you did and adjust it. This is what I like. This is DaVinci Resolve. Is if you're intimidated by it, but once you learn it, that's it. It's game over. You get it. Actually, on second thought, before we move on, I kind of want to change the look a little bit. I didn't think it looked good, and so I'm gonna go back and see what we can do. That looks pretty good. Well, on the highlights, and then we go back to the gain, just a little bit. Already that looks pretty good. So we only had to move the lift wheel just a little bit, and then we're gonna move on. Of course, we still have that correction on the skin tone, and then click on the layer mixer, hit Alt S, and then on this node, let's just watch it through. See how at this part, I'm kind of getting that hot spot right here on her arm. What I want to do is hit this again, see how it's selecting that. We can go back to the qualifier. Since we lifted this, it kind of boosted that part as well. And so we want to go back to the qualifier and go to the high luminance and bring that down a little bit. So essentially selecting the darker spots, the highlights less. There we go. And so see how that keeps the same exposure. We're not as worried about the color in this spot anyways, and so we want to do that. And also for here, what I want to do is this is a little bit blown out, and so I want to bring it back down to about like 21, the offset. You can still bring it back down with the gain, which is essentially the highlights. It's about that looks perfect. Oh, and by the way, always remember to go back to the right node that you're using, just to avoid confusion. So I went back to contrast, which is the exposure. If you want, we can actually rename that as exposure. We're gonna make the image pop a little bit more because we are a little bit underexposed now. So I'm just gonna bring up the midtones, the gamma, which is the midtones, just a little bit. But I feel like the background now is a little bit too bright, so I'm gonna bring back the lift, which is the shadows, bringing more pop to the image. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. This node is just gonna be adjustments, just some minor adjustments that we want to do with the image. That hotspot, we can kind of do something about it by going into the curves tab, and you see how here at the bottom right of it, it says soft clip. That hotspot right there, we can soften it by dragging this high soft until we see a change. See how that softens it right here. It's just a minor change, but blowing out highlights kind of screams amateur, so I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. I want to underexpose, even if I'm blowing out highlights, unless it's an artistic look that I'm going for. The next parts are gonna be the most important parts, and so you don't want to miss this. This is what gonna make this really filmic and cinematic, at least in my opinion, right? But let's just appreciate what we've done. Just look at that. We started from here and now we're here. Started from the bottom. See, now we're here, but we haven't messed up the shadows. We haven't messed up the skin. If you're keeping the shadows or the skin tones intact, you're doing a good job. I'm not a pro, by the way, but hey, I'm trying to learn just like you. Let's learn together. All right, so this part is what's blowing my mind, because like people are buying diffusion filters to get that glow look, but in DaVinci Resolve there's this effect that you could use that you could essentially mimic that. It's not perfect. I still bought the Black Pro Mist. I didn't have a Black Pro Mist on this. I shot this with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K with the 18-35. All right, so we're gonna make a new node, name it Glow, do that, and then we're gonna hit Open Effects right here, and then look up Glow, because we're trying to get that glow, right? And then drag it onto the node, and then this. What are we gonna do? There's so many sliders, so many numbers, right? Here, I actually learned this from Kazi. He's also a YouTuber who's teaching color grading and stuff like that. But I'm gonna change the composite type from add instead of add to soft light. You're probably like, you messed up your image. You're underexposed now. But wait, calm down. The shine threshold is the reason why it's doing that. But if we bring it back down, suddenly we're getting that image. But so what I'm gonna do, same way that I've been doing this color grading, I'm gonna go past what I want, past what I like, and then bring it back down just a little bit. Right there. I like that. I'm gonna put the spread back to 0. And then bring it back up to my liking. And right there. Actually, a little bit more. I like that. I like that. And the brightness, I feel like it's a little too bright. Go past what we like. Go extreme and then tone it down. And just like that, look at that. So remember I told you that I put less contrast than what I like? It's because when I add glow and you use the soft light, it creates a little bit more contrast. You see that? And so that's why I keep myself from putting the exposure in the beginning. That we can leave that. But everybody wants some film grain. Hey, I'm just a sucker for film grain, bro. And I feel like I have a good tip that I can share with you guys. Hit open effects, another node again. Hit look up for grain, drag that on. And then film grain preset, I found, I don't know, I just like this settings. 35 mil, scroll down all the way to the bottom, the 400T 35 mil. What I do is I mess around with the texture, actually bring it down to about like 650. And then the grain size, I bump that up to about 0.3. Yeah, somewhere around there. Actually, 0.350 is what I usually go for. We don't want this to be screaming at everybody who is watching the video or your film, but we want this to be something that gives a vibe, gives a feeling. It's more of a feeling. Yeah, to me, this already looks great. Like, I mean, look at that. All right, we're gonna do a recap, okay? This is our base footage. This is where we started from. And then we added that conversion LUT that's built into DaVinci Resolve for our exposure. We just bumped up the contrast just a tiny bit, and then we dialed down the pivot just to lift up some of the shadows. And then in our saturation node, we made it just a little bit cooler because it was a bit warm. And then we separated the skin and we boosted the levels on that skin and made it pop. And then on this node, we created that look that we like, which is summer, spring, warm vibe that we wanted. But of course, we added a layer node to put back in the correction on the skin that we did. And then on the adjustment node, did the high soft just to eliminate that hot spot right there. And then the sauce is the glow. It made everything look magical. And then finally the grain, because who doesn't like grain? So hopefully you guys learned something from me. You guys haven't seen that spec ad that I made for Pretty Little Thing, check out my YouTube channel. I'm planning on doing more tutorials. I don't know, let me know what you like. I'm gonna do gear reviews as well. So that would be it for me in this video. If you guys learned something, let me know down in the comments. And subscribe if you want to learn a little bit more. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Check out my channel. More tutorials coming. Like this. Oh my gosh, it's so cold, bro. By the way, my name is Al Caldejon.